How does that look?
No, I'm not saying that. You get some sense that there's a handful of stocks.
Look at that. I mean, you could tie that to the market. Bang. I see you're sporting a nice cap there.
New York Rangers, bro. Broadway, blue shirts. It's hockey season. And in fact, we're getting into the part of the season that matters.
I'm geared up. I'm totally geared up. It's interesting, you got that nice cap on Ranger logo. There was a time when caps like that were just meant for Major League Baseball teams. Like you'd see, for me, it would be obviously the iconic insignia of the New York Yankees, the interlocking N and Y.
Baseball hats have become caps, have become a place to do anything exciting. The least exciting, which is probably the Yankees logo. In other words, baseball caps. You've been buying, caps at concerts. Caps are part of the swag that. In fact, I remember the first time seeing the store Lids, which is a store full of hats, dude. So anyway, it's not just for baseball.
So what you're saying, I guess, if I'm reading between the lines, caps have become ubiquitous. So there was a time that I was, hope springs eternal. And as January turns to February, we're all sort of hoping that baseball comes back. I remember being a young lad sitting around the television set.
You were never a young lad,
by the way. No, I'm just saying.
Seriously, I mean, like when you think lad, I think a British prep school kid, right? I think Oliver, or maybe, which was not a prep school. I think it was an orphanage. It was awful.
I think you say lad, or I said lad, you give me a lad, and I think of Cheryl Ladd. If you really want to go down that route.
So Charlie's Angels, favorite angel?
Cheryl Ladd was up there for sure. It definitely was not Farrah Fawcett. I know that's the obvious one. If you polled 10 people of our age, 8 of them would say that, but it wasn't for me for whatever reason. I would watch, baseball on Saturdays on NBC with the great Joe Garagiola and, maybe a Tony Kubeck. Maybe a Kurt Gowdy was in the booth. Just tremendous. You look forward to it. There was nothing ubiquitous about it. That was it. You didn't have 30 games a week on. You had that one on Saturdays. It was wonderful.
Well, the great irony for sports is that the scarcity value and the exclusivity value of one game a week, the game of the week, and then eventually, after copying the success of Monday Night Football, there was Monday Night Baseball. But that sports have never been it's never been bigger business on the back of TV contracts. So unfortunately, you can watch an NFL football game almost every night of the week. There's an excuse that it's Wednesday Night Football. How great is it, by the way, your first baseball game as a kid? You're walking from the concourse in through the gate and you see the green of the grass. It's like that moment in The Wizard of Oz when it goes to Technicolor. It's astounding. And you remember as a kid. And it almost felt like they captured that with that game of the week. It was a day game, by the way. It wasn't a night game. It was a day game. You can't get a daytime baseball game on a Saturday these days because of TV.
It's amazing. And you're so right. You walk in, whether it's Shea Stadium or Yankee Stadium, you walked in, and as you went through the gate, it opened up to the field. It was so exciting, and the sights and sounds. And smells, by the way.
The problem is at Yankee Stadium, you probably got hit in the head with a bottle as you walked out, especially if you happened to be wearing the other team's colors. And if you think about that, by the way, you didn't dare walk into Madison Square Garden when they're playing the Islanders wearing an Islander sweater. Certainly not a Flyer sweater. No nice use of sweater, by the way.
I like what you did there. It is a sweater, by the way.
Why are they sweaters in hockey?
Because, if you think about it, the sport started to our neighbors in the north, and they wear sweaters all year round. So I think everything is a sweater. I think when they put a T-shirt on, it's a sweater. I think it's just become the term. But it is a great thing. I think the Ranger sweater, by the way, I'll put that up against the Toronto Maple Leaf sweater and the great Montreal Canadiens sweater.
So baseball as a sport, do they need a new TV contract? Do they need a shot in the arm? It's not America's pastime anymore. And I'm hearing rumbling that actually Apple may start televising baseball games. And is that good for Apple?
Well, does it move the needle for Apple? I'm reading the same thing you're reading. We'll see. Is it good for Apple? Absolutely. Anything I think they can get themselves immersed in or inserted in is going to be good for their flywheel. See what I did there? That's not a term that I use often, but it is absolutely true. So it just gives them another vertical that they can be in. So here you go. I want to ask a couple questions, and you give me
Okay, of
the
course
answer.
you do.
And I don't want you to think too much. I just want you to say what's on your mind. Is this person a better ball player or a better broadcaster? And I'm going to give you a couple names. You ready?
This is a great game, by the way. You really came up with this on the fly. Good for you. Go.
Tony Kubeck.
Tony Kubeck, clearly better announcer than baseball player. I mean, he really spoke with authority, and I think I'm guessing lifetime 236, maybe handful. Yeah. All right, keep going.
He got hit in the Adam's apple with a ground ball. It derailed his career. I think Tony Kubeck was on to great things. His career was cut too short, but you're right. Great broadcaster. Here's a hard one. The aforementioned Keith Hernandez.
Right. It's not hard. Come on. Keith Hernandez made every player around him better. Not only that, he didn't settle for anything less than everybody's 100%. So, and I know at times, by the way, that wasn't terribly popular. But schooled in the fundamentals, a guy that really, I think, was a leader in the clubhouse. And teams don't win without guys like Keith Hernandez.
So what you're saying is he was a better ball player than broadcaster. Here's a hard one, and this one I think I know the answer. The other guy in that booth, Ron Darling.
Better announcer than player. Yeah, I mean, he's a Yalie. So he likes to drop some knowledge on you every once in a while. Darling was part of the Walt Terrell, Ron Darling trade with the Detroit Tigers. I can't remember who we sent to them, but Ronnie Darling is a great, great announcer. And you see that because he's also on national broadcast, and he leaves our booth and goes to the national booth one more time. I'll throw this back at you. Seriously though, the scooter. What do you do with Phil Rizzuto, who was a fascinating guy on the field and off?
So although he was a great ball player, I think he was the MVP of the American League. I want to say in the early 1940s. You got to check me on that. I'll take Scooter in the booth over Scooter on the field.
In terms of Apple, who we tend to almost get everything from these days, it's not a hardware company. It's really not a services company. Is it about to be a media company? And are Amazon and Apple and Google with YouTube the most important companies in the world? Are they now the place that basically are going to dominate the conversation because they control media?
Absolutely. I think that's where they want to be. And I think, listen, baseball is a foray into that. My sense is football's not far behind to the extent that they can insert themselves in that conversation. You have to wonder how long before they get into like Premier League soccer. So I think this is not a toe dip necessarily, but this is an entry into the place they want to be. Think of it, when you're a $3 trillion company, you need things that are going to move the needle, and this might be one of them.
Well, when you think that content is king and spending on content and sports content, and again, we've talked about this too. I mean, it wouldn't be a major leap for Apple to get involved in gaming or buy a gaming company, and I realize that Apple's almost as squeaky clean as a brand as say Disney, but the sports gambling thing is bigger than all of us, I think, and at least when you see that New York State is clipping 51% of the revenues on sports gambling, every other state and every other company wants to be part of this. And again, we've talked for years at the content budget at Netflix and how that allowed them really to go from nowhere to being a company that actually you started to really respect their content. And we've seen this with Amazon. We've got Amazon Originals. We're starting to get Apple Originals. They're just scratching the surface.
And before we get out of here, I will just tell you this. I will take John the Hammer Milner every single day of the week over Keith Hernandez.
Look, and I'll throw you one, Heathcliff Johnson over Mark Teixeira. There's no question that John Milner was not a better first baseman than Keith Hernandez. You're just trying to rile me up. It's working. And in the meantime, I think let's send a message to all those people milling around the airport right now and heading into Hudson News or a couple of the other places, and they're sitting at the lounge, the bars. The bottom line is lead by example out there. You'll make everybody else a better ball player. Guy Dom.
And you can listen, no question about it. Go into the CNBC shop, but on your way, check us out at the gates, the lounges, the restaurants, anywhere in the airport that there's a screen. We're on it, Tim.
We are. I'm Tim Seymour. You're Guy Adami, and we are
unequivocally Commercial Break.
See you soon.